I want to do a live. Okay, go there, hit the plus button. You've showed me how to do this before, Paul. Live. Okay, allow Instagram to access your camera and your microphone. Yes, I said continue. Continue. What's going on? Why am I getting notification on all these? Allow. What am I doing, Paul? I hit continue. My phone locked up. Continue. Allow Instagram access to your camera and your microphone.
You're live on YouTube, Randy.
I'm live on YouTube. Hey, folks, how you doing? Welcome to Elk Talk Live. I'm going to give this to Paul because we're trying to do this on Instagram at the same time, but I'm about as unhandy as it gets. So I got to go over here on YouTube, get to my YouTube channel. All right, where are we at? I haven't done this for a while. Go to my YouTube. Do I go to, no, I got to go to my channel, right? Go to your channel. Is anybody out here even?
There's 35 people.
30, oh, look at that. Huh. There's people already out here. Now, I'm supposed to be able to read this fine print? I said, they got me a new computer and a new phone since the last time we did Elk Talk Live. Man, I hope you're all doing well. What's today? Tuesday, June 14th, something like that. I bet you if I do this, I know sometimes if you hit like, uh-oh, I just lost everything now. What did I do there? Oh, there we go. They showed me before how you could do this to make your screen bigger, but oh well. We're just gonna go with it. How y'all doing? Everybody doing well out there? Everybody get their Wyoming deer or pronghorn tag today? Oh, look at Paul. It's not gonna work. It's picking up. Oh, I gotta turn it around. How do I turn it around? There we go. Oh, look at that. As Grandpa would say, slicker than deer guts on a doorknob. So, but anyhow, Elk Talk Live is brought to you by the Go Hunt Explorer. And you might be wondering, what is Go Hunt's Explorer? Well, it's their map service. They now have all 50 maps for $50. And if you use promo code Randy, they're going to give you $20 of mad money in their gear shop. So, there you have it. All 50 states for $50. What's with this? Hey, old man, how you doing? Robert, come on. Am I looking that old these days? Oh, someone's saying, bugle me this. Hey, Randy, did you get your luggage finally? You must have saw me at the Bozeman airport at 2 o'clock Saturday morning. I flew back from Alaska, and wouldn't you know, my luggage got lost. So Saturday morning, I'm here in Bozeman, I'm supposed to do a 4-H gig for all these young hunters with all my equipment to show them how I use my equipment and what, answer their questions. Well, all my gear is stuck somewhere in an airplane, probably in Seattle. So I had to go out to my shop. I'm digging through piles of stuff, and oh well, it was interesting. So, Ray Garcia, Ray, you're back looking for your t-shirt again. 2 years ago, Ray was on here. We're going to have to get Ray's information so we can send him that t-shirt. Oh, look, other people are saying, hey, Randy, did you know you grew antlers? You want me to sit off to the side? Oh, well, we'll see. So how do I do this on Instagram? Does it tell me when the comments are coming up, or do I even want to know? How do you get that? Live. Huh. No, I'm not adding a title. In case you don't know, I'm not a big fan of Instagram and Facebook. That's, someone says, hey, when are we going to the Western Cafe for breakfast? I'm down there regularly. This is a tough one. The Real Gear Hunter says, me and 2 other men are going to be hunting the Bob Marshall Wilderness in Montana this year. How dumb are we for not using pack animals? I don't want to say you're dumb. I'm just saying when you show up at the trailhead and you see horse trailers backed up for a quarter mile on each side of the road, you're going to say, dang, I think that we should have used stock, whether horses or maybe you should have used llamas. But so, how we doing on audio, guys? Got one thumbs up. RJ's over there fiddling with the camera. And you guys know how to get this Instagram thing? It used to, all these comments would float by and stuff. Now I don't get anything. Or do I got to hit a button? Oh, it says checking. It says I'm now live. I don't think so. We're live over here on YouTube. Heck with it. Randy, were you pleased with Bo Beatty's llamas? Yes. I have some reserved for this fall for an elk hunt. Good idea, Brock. Can they handle 80 pounds like Bo says? Yes, easily. Now, they can carry 25% of their body weight. And these are muscled up big old boy llamas that are 400 to 420 pounds. Now, you don't want to load them super heavy all the time, but you're gonna, I could just about bet, Brock, that you're gonna say, man, what did I wait, or why did I wait so long to use llamas? So, hey, Paul, you know how to get this thing working live? What do I got to do? Do I got to hit a button here?
I think there was a glitch with Instagram today.
Oh.
That may be.
We're telling your followers that you are starting a live video. Instagram. You know, Instagram, Facebook, Meta, whatever. Well, people are, don't let me get started here. So, but I guess one of the things I'm wondering is, does anybody have an elk tag this year? No one's told me what elk tags they have. Usually, they're like, oh, I got this tag, I got that tag, I got this tag. Well, hopefully you got an elk tag. I've got 2 elk tags this year. I lucked out, I drew a general elk tag in Wyoming, and I have my general Montana elk tag. So, if we're gonna talk about Elk Talk Live, we really have to talk about elk. But before we do that, Ray Garcia is on here. And Ray, I did not know that you were from Uvalde, Texas. We all know what happened there in the last 2 weeks. And Ray said, please pray for my community. Ray, we're gonna do that. And Ray, being the nice guy he is, he knows that here in Montana, right here, 30 miles that way, 50 miles that way, over that way, southwest Montana has had major flooding. Yellowstone Park is closed. A lot of homes and property, not good. So thanks for thinking of us, Ray, and we're thinking of you. Let's see. Roy says he drew elk in Colorado. Let's see, anybody else? Richard says he drew elk and mule deer in Colorado. Did anyone in our crew draw elk in Colorado? Oh, Corey Jacobson drew elk in Colorado. Oh, I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. Oops. Can we, is that live? Sorry, Corey, I don't know if I was supposed to say that. Nobody drew Kentucky. Nobody drew, oh, Uncle Larry drew Arizona. We'll be down there for that. No one drew New Mexico. I don't think anyone in our crew drew Colorado. No one drew Nevada. No one drew Utah. We find out in the next couple of weeks if anyone drew Idaho. So I guess that's how it is. But some of you may have seen that today we launched, not we, a course that I prepared, or that I've been working on for almost 2 years, was launched on a platform called Outdoor Class. You see it right down here at the bottom. Those of you on Instagram can't see it. But this is my 30 years of failures, experiments, mistakes of rifle elk hunting. So Outdoor Class asked me to do rifle elk hunting. You'll see also is Corey Jacobson's pre-rut, peak rut, elk calling and elk hunting. Remy Warren did mule deer. And Jamie Teagan, who is the world-class chef out here at Birch Barrel, she did wild game cooking. So those are the first 4 courses they're launching. And then we've got John Barclow, who's going to do wilderness survival. We got Ryan Lampers and Brian Call, I think, are going to do mountain hunting and bear hunting. Mark Levacy is going to be doing advanced e-scouting. Hank Shaw is going to be doing a bunch of his cooking. So they have this big lineup of outdoor courses that are going to be part of the outdoor class library. And if you go there and sign up and you use promo code Randy, right? We don't pay full retail. You get 20% off. So go to outdoorclass.com if you want to enhance some of your education. They've already told me, Newberg, you better get out there because you've got to do an antelope course. You know, I started on that antelope course last summer and last fall. I've got most of it scripted. We're going to head out in July and start filming a bunch more of it. So I got to have that antelope course done before I hit the road in September. So those will be my 2 contributions to it, and maybe more. But go check it out if you get a chance. Let's see. Lou says, any advice for a lone elk hunter who got drawn here in Arizona for bull elk archery in September? Well, first of all, celebrate. I mean, an archery elk tag, it's, man, in Arizona, the first thing I do is jump up and down and be happy. The thing you're going to want to do is learn how to call, but even if you learn how to call, the thing you're going to have to focus on in that period is that the bulls are looking for the cows, right? That's pretty simple. It's peak rut. Well, that means you're now looking for cows. What are cows doing? Cows are looking for the absolute best food on the landscape on that day that you're hunting them. So know in your unit, because in Arizona, your units have a lot of diversity. If you're hunting up in the San Francisco Peaks above Flagstaff, it's like alpine stuff here in Montana. But if you're hunting over by Williams, you know, it's just Ponderosa, Mesa Canyon land. But then if you get in, say, parts even further lower elevation, it's more grassland, pinyon juniper. Each of those will have different food sources that the cow elk are going to be focused on during the peak rut. So know what those cow elk sources or those cow elk food source preferences are and go hunt those areas. So, someone just bailed me out. They said, oh, you're safe, Randy. Corey posted on Instagram that he'd drawn Colorado. Whew. Man, I thought I'd ratted him out there. So, let's see, waiting on the antelope draw in Montana. Yes, we are. We're all waiting on that, but I probably won't draw. Let's see, this one said, oh, wow, follow the Fanchers. Hey, Randy, love the podcast and your channel. My dad and I are headed to New Mexico this year for our 27th year together, chasing bugling bulls with a stick and a string. Wow. The Fanchers. That is cool. That's really cool. 27 years, man, I don't know if I could, I don't have 27 years left in me, I know that. But there's a thing I want to do tonight, and I hope that you will all grant me this one little indulgence. There is a young guy, his name is Aiden, and he has a YouTube channel called 307 Outdoors. And if you watched a deer hunt I did in 2019, we stopped at his place. And Aiden is now 15 or 16, and he has a rare condition similar to muscular dystrophy. If I remember right, it's called spinal muscular atrophy. And he's confined to a wheelchair. He loves to hunt. And I talk to Aiden probably once a month. He calls me up on video chat, and he inspires me that someone who's going through what he is going through still loves to hunt and tries to get outdoors. And he even started his own YouTube channel about the things he does hunting. So I'm going to ask you all to do this, if you would, when this is over. And maybe we can put a link to it here in the feed. go and subscribe to Aiden's channel, 307 Outdoors. It would mean the world to him, and he's an absolute wonderful young man. So, Aiden, you probably aren't watching. You're probably doing your homework or something tonight. Well, no, school's out. But if one of you guys, Matthew or Paul or somebody, can link in 307 Outdoors, I hope you would go and subscribe to that, because he's such an optimistic, good kid, and it would mean a lot to him if you can do that. Someone wants to know where they can get a Hunt Talk hat. We took the store down. Because I was running out of Hunt Talk hats. Do we need to reopen our store, RJ?
We still have the store.
We still have the store, but we don't have the Hunt Talk hats, right?
No, but if you got more hats, we can put them on the store.
Oh, but RJ says, oh, we can put them up in the store. I guess I'd have to order more hats before we put them on the store. But what's that? Shop.randynewberg.com? That's the Shopify store. So anyhow, let's see. Brock asks this, and this is so we're going to have to cover this. Today might be more Wyoming than anything. So Wyoming this year has changed some things where they have a task force, where I think it was the governor appointed a task force of legislators, outfitters, some citizen hunters, community members. And so that task force has been coming up with recommendations for their commission or for their legislature. And if you've been following that, you know that earlier this year they passed a change that converted, they call it the Big Five. And that's what this question Brock asks is, hey, what do you think of the Big Five? The Big Five are moose, goat, sheep, bison, and grizzly bear. Wyoming used to allocate 25% of those tags to non-residents. Well, now with the new change from the task force, they're allocating 10% to non-residents. So everyone asks me, why aren't you all upset about that? Well, one, every state gets to decide how much they're going to share with residents, or with non-residents. My state of Montana, we only do 10%. So it'd be pretty hypocritical for me to rant and rave about Wyoming going down to 10%, when my state does the same thing. So it's definitely, when it goes into place or into effect next year, it's definitely going to change things for the Big Five. Now, here's what's currently being discussed by that task force. To do the same thing with deer, elk, and antelope. In other words, we get 16% of the elk tags right now, that'd go to 10%. We get 20% of the deer and antelope tags, that'd go to 10%. So that would be a big change. But you know what? If that's what Wyoming's going to do, that's what they're going to do. But here's the big kicker to me that is problematic. You know, whatever a state's going to do, that's up to their citizens. The North American model of wildlife conservation is that it's a state-based system. They have a proposal right now where the Wyoming Outfitter and Guide Association is asking for 40 to 50% of the non-resident pool of tags. For me, that's like, okay, now I'm going to get involved, because whatever that portion of non-resident tags are there, I've always been against the principle that we should take this wildlife resource that's been created by mostly the rank and file average person, mostly probably the residents of whatever state, and we're going to just funnel most of that non-resident portion to a small group of businesses. I don't like it. So if you're inclined, go to Google, Wyoming Wildlife Task Force, and it lists all the members. Contact them and let me know what you're thinking. So we don't know if they're going to do this for deer, elk, and antelope. These are proposals being kicked around. I think their next meeting is July 7th. So be on the lookout, because Wyoming has some great hunting. And if they bring it down to 10%, I get it. You know, that's kind of the standard. 10%, Montana, Idaho, Arizona, Nevada, Utah, those states all do 10%. So I could see why Wyoming wanted to be there. Oregon does up, I think, 5%. New Mexico for self-guided non-residents does 6%. So anyhow, you might want to comment about that allocation to the outfitter, because it's going to really impact your odds as a non-resident. Unless you got, if you want to hunt with an outfitter, that's fine. We refer tons of people to outfitters. I got a lot of friends who are outfitters, so it's not against outfitters. It's just, this is a public resource, and allocating it to one group, that's a hard one to swallow. So, let's see. Forrest says, I want to go on my first deer and pronghorn hunt in Wyoming next year. They've already cut 7,000 tags for pronghorn this year, and a good chunk last season. Yep, they did. And the drought is killing them down in Wyoming, so hopefully they can get some relief from that drought. If you think about this, Wyoming this year cut 11,000 deer and antelope tags. 20% of those would have went to non-residents. So that's 2,200 fewer tags that non-residents get because of the drought. And last year they cut it by, I can't remember what it was, I think it was 4,000 or 5,000. So that was another 1,000 cut last year. When I first started doing the multi-state hunting game back in the late 90s, early 2000s, Wyoming was issuing almost 75,000 pronghorn tags. This year it's going to be a little over 32,000. I should look to make sure, but it's less than half. So the number of tags that we non-residents can compete for is less than half of what it used to be. So anyhow, we're talking elk, right? Let's look for some elk questions here. Who's got one? Oh, Chris says, hi Randy, I was in Bozeman today. We were in Yellowstone for 2 days and now doing other stuff because of the flooding, of course, yes. And if you were up there looking for elk, it's a beautiful green spring in Montana. I've seen so many elk this spring while out bear hunting and everything else, but you're not going to get into the park for a while to go see those. So I don't know if people will divert their trips to outside the park or what. All right. Any advice for two guys who got deer tags in northern Wyoming in an area considered in severe drought? Go hunt. Mule deer are amazing animals that really find a way to sort this out. They can somehow figure out where the water is, where the better moisture is. And here's the thing that I think a lot of people miss when we're talking drought. They're over looking for water. Really what you're looking for is where were the little pockets of more moisture, because that's where the better forage is going to be. There's always some type of water on the landscape, whether it's a stock tank or a creek or a river. What really hurts in a drought is the lack of forage. So in the outdoor class thing that the course I talked about for rifle elk hunting, one of the things we talk about is a lot of non-migratory elk. And I'm talking like eastern Montana, eastern Wyoming, New Mexico, Arizona, parts of Nevada, maybe parts of Utah. Those elk don't migrate. They don't disperse vertically like mountain elk. They disperse horizontally. And what causes them to disperse to certain locations? The long-term moisture patterns that have created pockets of forage. So most people are like, oh, I got to go look for where the water is. Yeah, there is some water issues, and that food will, the preferred food will be, within 2 miles of water. But really what they're dialed into is that forage that's been created by the pockets of greener moisture or greener areas caused by moisture. That's where you're going to find out in these non-migratory areas, especially in drought conditions. So, I'm not sure. Hey Dave, long time no chat. Yeah, hope you're doing well. Oh, somebody said, turn back my Colorado elk and mule deer tag on the new surrender system for a full refund and point, because I drew my Wyoming mule deer tag today. Well, that's a good deal. maybe one of us watching can pick up that tag you turn back in. So Colorado has a unique system where people turn tags back in and they get reissued. And I think that starts sometime in the second week of August. They start posting this list, and it's kind of like free for all. Get on there, get it in your cart, check out, and off you go. Nevada has a similar system called first come, first serve, and it's a little bit different, but it's also very similar. And those are only for tags that get turned in in Nevada. They got to be turned in within that 2-week window before season starts, so 13 days or less. So you better really have your calendar flexible if you're going to do something like that on the Nevada system. So what's this one here? Let's see, October 15th to 19th. Should I focus on post-rut or late rut, northern New Mexico? Northern New Mexico, higher elevation usually up there than over in western New Mexico. October 15th to 19th is when you're going to start seeing a post-rut pattern. You're going to see the older bulls going into solo sanctuaries. They're going to be out for just a little window of time in the morning and come out for a little window of time in the afternoon. So the whole course that I did for outdoor class, we go into that in huge detail. Hunting the post-rut period with a rifle. I could really nerd out on that. And in fact, I do. I mean, we do. There's 15 chapters, 15 videos in that course. So, thoughts or tips on hunting Midwestern or Eastern elk? I would hunt them just like I do Western elk, and just know that they have a different landscape, so they're going to have to utilize that landscape differently to satisfy their needs. It's probably not much different than hunting elk in northern Idaho, thick, really tough country, versus hunting them in the grasslands of New Mexico. Elk are elk. They have the same needs, but the way they have to use that landscape to satisfy the need is what determines their behavior. Same with an elk in Pennsylvania, or same with an elk in Kentucky. They're going to have the same need at the same time of year, but they're going to use the landscape differently because the landscape provides different resources than what the landscape does in northern Idaho or the landscape does in the grasslands of New Mexico. So, let's see. Randy Ducksback says, so my first elk hunt in Colorado, it's for first rifle season. I love that season. That's when I prefer to hunt there. It's a solo hunt with my wife, and I've got her convinced to call for me. Will the elk still be bugling? I don't want to push practice. Yes, they probably will. Out on our Fresh Tracks Plus platform, the free episode we let everybody watch is called Colorado something. That's a Colorado first rifle hunt. And you will see that bull was screaming his brains out, as was the bull I called in on the scouting day the day before. So there's not nearly as much hunting pressure in those first rifle seasons in Colorado. So the bulls, you'll still get a little bit of that going on in those first rifle seasons. So let's see. With the majority of the elk draws over, which hunt would be best for a first hunt for someone from West Virginia? The Colorado over-the-counter archery, or the second rifle cow elk, the Utah spike only, or the second draw or leftover tag? I would say your best odds of success are going to be Colorado cow elk. There are a ton of cow elk there. The tags are easy to get. Cow elk are more predictable, easier to pattern. So that would be my suggestion. If you're traveling that far and it's going to be your first hunt, I'd probably go do cow elk like that. So over here on the Instagram, I don't know how to answer some of these questions. They scroll by so fast on Instagram that I'm mostly focusing on what we got over here in the questions from YouTube. I wanted to say Facebook. Oof. All right. So Matt says, hey Randy, how are the Randy Newberg series Howa rifles selling? I have a 300 Win Mag and I love it. And they're selling really, really good because they're out of inventory pretty much everywhere. I'm hoping that you can only get them at Sportsman's Warehouse. Hopefully they'll replenish that with their next order. Let's see, struck out in the Wyoming antelope draw. Any suggestions? If I had them, I'd use them myself because I struck out also. Gonna be tough. Do I think all of this damp weather will keep the fires at bay come August and September? I don't know. I mean, right now it's so green right here in this part of Montana, but if we get no rain, we've got all this vegetation that grew and it's all gonna wilt and dry up by August and September, and we're gonna have crazy fires. So it's really a function of just what is all of that moisture, and is there some continuing moisture to keep it from drying out really bad. Another Matt. This is one. Hey Randy, I drew a bull elk rifle tag November 6th through the 20th, units 111 through 115 in Nevada. Whoo, man. What are your thoughts on this tag? If you gave me any rifle elk tag in Nevada, that is the rifle elk tag I'd want to have. The first rifle hunt in 111 through 115. Any particular spots come to your mind that I might need to check out? It's hard to say any particular spot. There are elk all over that place. If I had the tag, I'd be hunting along the boundary of Great Basin National Park because I had a deer tag there one time, and the quality and number of big bulls I saw was really big. Now, maybe I'll be wrong, and there won't be any there, but that is definitely a place I'd start looking. But don't just focus on one place. There are elk all over in that country. All right, Steve Sutton asks, hey Randy, hunting limited entry hams hunt. So, you drew my tag. This is the same tag I applied for in Utah, October 1st through November 15th. I think there were only 2 or 3, maybe you're a resident, but I think there are only 2, maybe 3 non-resident tags. I'm not gonna say what unit it is. In the Utah high desert with some pines and quakies up high. Lower is pinyon juniper. Where would you focus your time during these 6 weeks? I would focus my time in different places because that unit has a migratory herd of elk. I've done a lot of research on these elk in that area because I keep hoping I'm going to draw it as a hams hunt someday. But you're going to want to be looking in the higher country, and you'll see where that is. Know that there's a reservation there, so there's going to be some boundary issues. But in the first part of October, if you went high, you're going to catch some bugling elk. Now, this season runs to the middle of November. By then, they're moving towards the winter range, and they're going to be in sanctuaries. So I would hunt all over that. Depending on what part of the season I'm hunting, I'd be following those bulls from the higher country down their transition range closer to their winter range. So congratulations, man. Oh, Aaron, I was hoping nobody would bring this up. Aaron says, I got sent an elk tag from Montana that I did not draw. Does that count? In case any of you are wondering, how many of those did we have, Paul? 1,200 people? Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks sent out 1,200 elk tags to unsuccessful non-resident applicants. And if you said you wanted the elk and deer tag combination, they sent you a deer tag also. But they're supposed to be following it up with a letter that says, hey, that elk tag we shouldn't have sent you, don't use that. It's no good. Well, I don't know how many people are going to say, I never got that letter. What are you talking about? Has Montana released its archery non-resident antelope draw results yet? No, I don't believe that's the case. So this person says, does Outdoor Channel replace my University of Elk Hunting class? Will my membership transfer? Faith, family, hunt? Yes, if you're a subscriber of the University of Elk Hunting, you're going to end up, I think the email's going out tomorrow or Thursday, you're going to get to be a subscriber of Outdoor Channel to kind of jump in and be part of that. So Let's see, what backcountry tent do I use? Well, I either use the small wall tents last year we used that my buddy Bo Beatty has, go to Wilderness Ridge Trail Llamas, or I have these Hilleberg Nalo 2 GT tents that I love. I have two of them. The first one I bought in 2006 or 7. I've got 400 and some nights on that tent. So it's been really, really good. You should start giving away Dairy Queen stuff at the end of each episode. Never thought about that. I don't know how I'd get it to you though. Permafrost says, hey Uncle Randy, I've been doing Colorado over-the-counter hunts for 10 years and I've been skunked. Trying to draw in multiple states now, but no luck yet. How do I get the monkey off my back? Go to Colorado, stick with it, keep doing it. Now, in a lot of our videos, in the course I did with Outdoor Class, you will see where we talk about how these post-rut hunts, which are going to be the Colorado over-the-counter hunts, or how these late hunts, which would be the 3rd season, how you have to anticipate hunting pressure and use it as an ally. Because the over-the-counter hunts in Colorado will have the most intense elk hunting pressure of any hunts you can do in North America. Hunting pressure, adapting to it and understanding it and anticipating it is the key. And go and hunt the sanctuaries. So I would stick with it. You're probably that close to success and it's going to happen this year. So how far on average do I go for an elk? I'm assuming you mean from a trailhead. I don't know, 3-4 miles maybe? I mean, the one I shot in Colorado, we were 12 miles from a trailhead. This year in Wyoming, Bo tells me that he wants to bring a bunch of llamas, and I'm thinking, wow, okay, we can go a lot further. I bet you we end up 8 or 10 miles from a trailhead. Some of the limited entry units that are hard to draw but easy to hunt, I might only be a mile from a trailhead. I guess it just kind of all depends. So Jeremy has a question. We hunted the 2nd season 2 years ago in northwest Colorado. 8,000 feet was that magic number. Cool. Northeast to southeast facing slopes, depending on the sun and temperature. Yep, and the reason would be is because there was something about those conditions on that day or those days you were hunting that put elk in that location. Either because it was a sanctuary and the weather, I don't know, in that part was the transition range, was the summer range up here at 11,000 and the winter range at 6. There's some reason why those elk were there. And if you can replicate that pattern or find a time when those conditions are the same, you're probably going to find them in the same location. It's kind of like fishing, right? Well, yesterday I caught them all in 12 feet. Why? Because there was something there at 12 feet about that weather pattern, that water temperature, whatever, that's where those fish were. These elk were there responding to the conditions, the hunting pressure, the environmental conditions. So make note of that and try to replicate it wherever you go. So, when's the rut this year? And what's the week to be in the woods, Ryan asks. Well, the rut's the same every year. It never changes. And if you think about that, elk have a 250-day gestation period. And they need all of the calves to land on the ground in late May, early June. And that's an evolutionary anti-predator mechanism. And here's what I mean by that. Say you got 5 bears out there on the calving range. Well, if you drop 200 calves on the ground in a 2-week period, those 5 bears can only eat so many calves in that 2-week period. But now if you spread that calving period out to 6 weeks, those bears can just stay there and keep eating calves. Because once a calf gets to a certain size, it can outrun a bear and elude a bear. So their mechanism of how they reduce predation is have this big spike, this big pulse of calves hitting the ground. Well, if you have a 250-day gestation period, you can backtrack that to when the rut has to happen. All these studies show that the rut never is late. It might be hard for us to observe because it's really dry. It's really hot. So all the rutting is happening at night when we're not there. But trust me, it's happening. So the idea of the quote unquote rut's going to be late this year, I don't buy it. The science doesn't support it. So just be thinking about that and know that this period of time, and if you look at most of the studies of when the calves are born and you roll that back to 250 days, the majority of pregnancies happen the last couple days of September and the first couple days of October. And obviously there's, you know, a bell curve where there's some before that and some after that. So, oh, Life of Riley says, I have an elk tag in Montana for the first time. Cool, congratulations. I hope you have a great hunt. I saw some stats that Montana's non-resident applications went down by 8,000 people this year. I'd like to see that in a more formal printout, because that surprises me that when every other state, and with COVID, you know, they call it the COVID pulse and all that, seeing that other states have that, this increase, I'm like, that's interesting if Montana went down. Let's see. Brian asks, I'm very new to hunting. I was in Colorado and did a season of elk and deer. I'm now in Missouri. What is comparable to Go Hunt's filtering for Missouri deer for us? You know, Brian, I wish I had an answer to that. I don't know what that is. I don't. Go Hunt doesn't cover Missouri. But what they do have with their new Explorer map system, you can get Missouri maps. You can get all 50 maps. Go to gohunt.com, sign up for Explorer, get 50 states for $50, use promo code Randy, and they'll put $20 of credit in their gear shop for you. So what's that, a net of $30? You can use that in Wyoming, or Missouri. Let's see, Jack says, Randy, I just got my first elk tag as a resident, a limited entry Wyoming rifle elk tag. Any tips? Yeah, become a student of elk, because the odds are your Wyoming elk tag is going to be sometime in October. And in the month of October, you see huge changes in the behavior of bull elk. Beginning of October, they're going to be still in the pretty good part of that peak rut. By the end of October, they're almost finished up with post-rut, and they're getting ready for late season. And their behaviors are completely different. Their needs are completely different. So they're going to be on completely different areas of the landscape. So know what that bull elk needs on that day you're going to be hunting them. So become a student of elk. That's really what I tell people. There is no substitute for knowledge. My buddy John Barclow says knowledge is absolutely 0 ounces. It weighs nothing. So the more knowledge you have, the smarter you are. It doesn't weigh anything. It replaces all the kind of doodads, gizmos, and equipment that you buy. So knowledge is, you talk to most people who are consistently successful time after time after time hunting elk on public land, it's because they became students of elk. So Brad asks, archery hunting Montana general units, prefer hunting the first half of September or the second half? When my calendar allows, I prefer the second half, because it's less likely I'm going to run into one of those really hot streaks of weather, right? That even in Montana, we can get, 90 degrees in September. I want to move as far away from that likelihood as possible. So, Elk Talk podcast still alive. Been pretty lonely on the road. Yeah, it's still alive. Corey and I are doing one on Friday. Apologize that between his travel and my travel, we're about 8 days late right now, and by the time that gets done, we'll be about 2 weeks late. But appreciate all who listen to the Elk Talk podcast. Go to elktalkpodcast.com. Leave us your comments of what questions you want us to answer, because most of that podcast is like this Elk Talk Live. It's a lot of Q&A stuff, so it's coming. So, Real Gear Hunter, what food source do you think will be the elk's primary food source in the Bob Marshall Wilderness during mid to late September? cow elk are going to be focused mostly on grass and forbs, not shrubs, grass and forbs. And if it's been a really dry year, they're going to have to focus on grass because the forbs will already be dried up. So it depends on the conditions when you get there, but it's going to be one of those two. And now you're probably saying, well, what grasses or what forbs? If you go and Google nutrition or all this stuff, Bob Marshall, elk forage, you're probably going to find some research that tells you what their preferred forbs or preferred grasses are. But the safer bet is that they're going to be on the grass rather than the forbs by that time of year. So Chris asks, Randy, did you draw your Nevada sheep tag? No, just chalking up more bonus points. I'm at 20 some now, so I fully plan on going to my grave with no sheep tag in my pocket, but that's all right. It's fine. Spencer says, hey Randy, have you ever hunted elk in the Highwood Mountains of Montana? I have not. I heard it's really good hunting, but I've never hunted it. Let's see. Kenneth Sutton asks, for the last 2 years, I've hunted Colorado second season over the counter. This year, I drew first season Colorado. Is there much difference in what I can expect the hunting pressure to be? Yes, day and night. Because your first season tag is a limited entry tag. There's only so many, and there's only going to be so many people out in the woods. The second season over-the-counter stuff you've been doing, that is the busiest season of all the seasons in Colorado. So you're going to go there and you're going to think, man, did I show up in the wrong place? Season closed around here? I haven't seen hardly any hunters. That's why I hunt the first season in Colorado if I can. Someone says, best unit in Arizona to hunt elk. Yes. There aren't any bad units. So let's see, Noisy Cricket Adventures. My friend drew a coveted Montana elk tag. Any tips for harvesting a big bull with a bow? Maybe early September because I have less cows? Yeah, that's when more of the bigger bulls are taken before they get all herded up. But you're going to see a lot more elk once they get in those big groups. But there is no real ticket. I mean, because if I told you, or you told me they drew the tag down here in southwest Montana or central Montana, you'd hunt it completely differently. You'd look for certain things. Your approach would be completely different. So it's really hard to say one way or the other. What's the best over-the-counter tag for elk? Well, if you can get in the front of the line in Idaho on December 1st when they all go on sale, I'd say that's your best option. But if you're like me and you always end up at like, I'm like number 14,000 in the line, it's like, you're wasting your time. Brock asks, I've seen private purchases from government being beneficial for public access for use to release landlocked areas. Can we expect more? I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to there, Brock. I know of a ton of private land purchased by government agencies to consolidate all those kind of isolated parcels that don't have good access. In fact, right now there's one southwest of Casper, Wyoming. It's almost 36,000 acres that the BLM is buying. It's an amazing piece. So the Land and Water Conservation Fund, which helps do most of that. You know, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation has done 1.4 million acres of new and improved access, them and their partners, and the mechanism they've used has been the Land and Water Conservation Fund. So there's a lot of good work going on there, and I hope it continues. So Gabriel asks, what do you know about Unit 16A in New Mexico? And then he's got a chili by it. I don't know if that's about my chili gastrointestinal problem, but I've had the archery tag in Unit 16A, and I've had a rifle tag there. So I know a little bit about it, but those hunts were a long time ago. There's been a couple big fires in there since then. So I don't know if my information would still be valid. Cody asks, Arizona in Unit 7 West, have you hunted it? I have not. I've hunted next to that in Unit 8, in Unit 7 East, in Unit 9, in Unit 10. I've pretty much circled the entire area, but I've not had 7 West. Do you know what the terrain is like? Late season, so there will be a lot of hunting pressure, 400 plus tags. Any tips on getting away from it? Yes, go find the places that other hunters don't want to go. Whether that's distance because of closed roads, whether it's steep topography, canyons, just places where other hunters don't want to be is going to be your ticket there. Anytime we hunt these late seasons in Arizona, that's what we're doing. My Uncle Larry has a tag, late season rifle tag in Arizona this year. That's what we're going to do. We're going to go find those places that nobody else wants to go to. And in the process, hopefully we find some undisturbed bull elk in their late season pattern. So anyhow, want to make sure that you know that this Elk Talk Live is brought to you by two of our great partners, Go Hunt and their Explorer map systems. 50 states for $50. Use promo code Randy and they'll give you $20 of credit in their gear shop. And then also our friends at Outdoor Class. Go to outdoorclass.com, get my rifle elk course, Corey's archery elk course, Remy Warren's mule deer course, Jamie's cooking course, and a whole bunch more to come. And when you go there, use promo code Randy and they'll give you 20% off. Now, don't pay full retail. Always use promo code Randy, okay? If you're shopping for gear, go to the Go Hunt gear shop and when you check out, use promo code Randy. They'll give you 10% off. Don't pay full retail. Don't be doing that stuff. People say, well, you know, what would an accountant advise? I'm a CPA, right? I'm a tightwad tax man. One of the kind of billboard signs around here is don't pay full retail. Use promo code Randy. Oh, this is a hard one. Jack, hey Randy, how has been the best way to practice with a rifle during this ammo shortage? That has been hard. It just is. There's, you know, you don't want to go burn up all your ammo and then be walking around 2 days before season saying, boy, I hope they get some more ammo in here. I will admit I've not been practicing as much in the last few years, or last 2 years with this big ammo shortage as I did in the past. I used to burn so much ammo, but I don't right now. The old outdoorsman says, Randy, have you ever hunted elk in unit 7778 Colorado in archery season? I have not. I'm sure some people are like, this guy must have hunted every unit. Every time we ask, he says yes, but I've not hunted that one. Luke says, hey Randy, I drew a muzzleloader tag for elk in Colorado. Got any tips? I've never used a muzzleloader before, and I'm not sure if my tactics need to change. No, hunt them like you would with a bow. I mean, you're hunting them in September in Colorado with a muzzleloader. Peak rut. Hunt them like you would with a bow. So, let's see. Poindexter Logan says, favorite mule deer forage base in late season. It's going to be Forbes, and it's probably going to be some sort of buckbrush, bitterbrush, rabbit brush, possibly sage if there's a ton of snow. So he said, question mark, sage? Yes, sage can be if it's an early winter. Advantages of llamas versus horses. Lower maintenance, easier to haul them around. They can get by with less water than horses. The disadvantages are you can't ride a llama. And a llama can't carry quite as much as a horse. Now, I'm going to jinx myself by saying this. I've never known a llama owner who ended up at the orthopedic surgeon because they fell off a llama. But pretty much everybody I know who uses horses in the mountains has an orthopedic surgeon right here on speed dial. So, anyhow, I love llamas. Go see my buddy Bo at Wilderness Ridge Trail Llamas. Check them out. You will really enjoy them if you rent them. Jeremy says, Randy, my wife and I drew the Montana General elk tag. With all the rain as of late, how's it looking as far as green up in Montana this year? It is really, really, really green in southwest Montana. Central Montana, eastern Montana, northern Montana, not the case. They are not getting the moisture we are. So it could be a really, really good season. I hope it is. I hope the fires stay low. I hope everything goes super well. Oh, this is J.T. Robertson Miller from Thorn Bay, Alaska. Randy, I'm from Thorn Bay, and I know your buddy Jim Those of you who watch our content, our buddy Jim is the guy with the bushy beard who walks around with his homemade Hawken rifle. What's your favorite thing about Jim? Well, I don't know that Jim has ever had a bad day. Jim is the most optimistic, upbeat, happy guy I've ever met. And that is what makes him so much fun to hunt with. I don't care what the conditions are. He's like, I know just over the next ridge we're going to get him. And if we don't, he gives this big belly laugh like, oh, well, I was wrong, but the next ridge and the next ridge. So when you can hunt with people who have a positive attitude like Jim does, oh man, it makes all the difference in the world. It makes it a ton of fun. So tell him I said hello. Daniel asks, does a neck shot on an elk drop it in its place? Oh yeah. If you hit him, right here in the neck where the spine is in the neck, they're going down. But here's the problem. You don't have a lot of leeway. I would never suggest a neck shot. I would wait for any of the other shot angles before a neck shot. What if you're a little high and you hit him in the jaw? You've got an elk that's going to starve to death out there. What if you just go through and you get, just the windpipe? Okay, you got an elk that's eventually going to starve to death. So you think about the vital area in the chest, the lungs, that heart-lung area, it's huge. It allows for a lot of leeway. Something narrow, like a neck shot, I'd suggest against it, for sure. So Tony says, my father-in-law drew Nevada Area 91 bull tag. I've not hunted that before. It's a rifle hunt opening September 10th with no archery or muzzleloader hunts before it. Ooh, cool. It's a small hunt, but he can also hunt the Utah side. Any tips? Yeah, get there early. Get there a few days early, 2 or 3 days early, and scout. And locate where the cow elk are, because on September 10th, that's right nearby or with those cow elk are where the bulls will be. So get there, find out what that food source is that those cows are focused on September 10th or September 11th or September 9th, and be there. And go and locate as many of those food sources as you can, so if the hunting pressure moves the elk around, you got other options, and kill that bull opening morning. That's what I do. It's impossible to overstate the value of that 1 or 2 days of scouting in advance in an area you may have never been to before. Mike Posey says, congratulations on your new studio setup. Well, thanks, Mike. We're in a new building, but this studio, all of this stuff is courtesy of RJ, Paul, Marcus, Michael, Jess, David. I had nothing to do with it. If it was up to me, this would still be a blank white wall. But thanks, I'm glad you like it. Perfecto says, Randy, do you take into account moon phases when hunting elk, and how much would you say it is a factor in your hunts? 0. Because we are going from here to here to here to here to here to here. I mean, if you saw my calendar, it's crazy. So we're out hunting regardless of the moon phase. It's not like we can say, well, we're going to take a week off because we're going to go over and hunt when it's a better moon phase. We're just going, so we really don't even worry about it. The only difference it makes for us is sometimes when we're walking in the dark, if it's a full moon, we can walk in without a headlamp. And if it's a, completely new moon, we better have extra headlamps. That's about as far as we take it. Now, I know some people have a completely different view of that, but that's my view of it. Let's see. Richard asks, basic question. There are good resources available for elk winter and summer ranges in Colorado, and also migration patterns. Yes, there are. It's called I talked about it earlier, the Interactive Atlas is what Colorado Parks and Wildlife. First rifle in mid-October, which range would you scout first? I would be towards the top of the transition range. I'd be closer to the summer range. Because we're talking like October 12th, 14th. It takes a lot of snow and a lot of cold to move a bull elk down to his winter range. When in doubt, if you're seeing cows at this elevation and not many bulls or just younger bulls, move higher. Bulls are always higher on the transition range. So if you're just seeing cows and you're not seeing any bulls, that should tell you something. And that's why I move up and down the transition range. And if I'm seeing cows, it's like, oh, I better go higher. So go higher, not lower. Let's see. Scott says, I'm building a custom elk rifle. Cool. Never want to get in the way of a guy building another rifle or buying another rifle. I'm all about new firearms. You know, if one is good, two is gooder. And if two is gooder, imagine what 40 is. But anyhow, he says, what's your suggestion for caliber? I'm leaning towards a 300 Winchester short mag or a 7mm Remington Magnum. Either of them. They're both great elk cartridges. I would pick whichever one you like and you want and go with that. They're both excellent. So, the Pullin' Feathers podcast. I have a bull I've been chasing for the past 3 to 4 years. Big trophy bull. Usually has a ton of cows. Any tips? We're talking archery season in Wyoming. Oh boy, that's always hard when they get all those cows with them. I'd go there and just be as mean and ornery as you possibly can. Try to get him so frustrated and so mad that he comes in and you get your chance. Otherwise, I'd go earlier and try to pattern him and get him before he gets in with all those cows, if you can locate him. Let's see. James says, Randy, do you hunt for whitetail? Yeah, I think I've shot 21 or 22 whitetail here in Montana. I have a whitetail tag in Idaho this year. I'm going to Minnesota for whitetail, so yeah, I kind of have a whitetail problem. Noisy Cricket Adventures. Is Destination Elk version 5 coming this year? I don't know. You'd have to ask Corey. I know, but I can't say. I'm not under liberty to say. And he says, I'm really enjoying Destination Elk version 4 right now. I'm glad you like it. He put so much work into that. Brock says, how often do you run into snakes? And are snake-proof gaiters a good idea? I run into them, but I don't think snake-proof gaiters are worth worrying about when elk hunting. I occasionally run into them, but even a deaf guy like me, my hearing is really bad so far. Now watch, I'm going to get bit this year, and everyone's going to say, well, you knothead, if you would have wore those gaiters, you wouldn't have got bit, but oh well. Bullets for bucks. What do you think of all this rain and flooding in northern Yellowstone? Will the moisture help the hunting? Yeah, it should help the hunting, but dang, I don't like what it's doing to everybody else. You know, a lot of lives, a lot of property getting really disrupted. I don't know about that. I wish it was different. But I guess if you try to find a silver lining, I guess it is that we're getting moisture that's growing a ton of feed for the elk. So, how we doing, guys? How long did we say we're going for an hour? Was that the skinny? So we've been here an hour, but we want to make sure that you know all the great companies that make this possible. And if you want to help us, and this is just a selfish statement, we don't get much benefit out of Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, almost none. And they keep chiseling us, moderating us. That's why we started our Fresh Tracks Plus platform. And that's exclusive content. There's no ads. We're not doing anything with your personal information. If you're so inclined, go and check it out, freshtracks.tv. But for Elk Talk Live, we want to thank the two partners that make this possible. And you're going to see it again next week and the next week. And we're going to do these all summer again. We're getting back into it. We feel that even though we got to be on these platforms like YouTube and Instagram that don't really care for hunting, it's the best way to reach all of you. So we're going to swallow our pride and we're going to go do it. And it's brought to you by the Go Hunt Explorer. Go to gohunt.com, get 50 states of maps. Get the entire map suite. The desktop, the mobile map, everything. $50. Use promo code Randy and they'll give you $20 of credit in their gear shop. And if you go out to outdoor class, right now there are 4 courses. Me, Corey Jacobson, Remy Warren, Jamie Teagan, and there's going to be a lot more. Go out there, use promo code Randy, and they'll give you 20% off. So, thanks for being here. Hope you all had a great time. Look forward to it next week, and save your questions and make sure we have them for next week. Take care.